I'm Harley. I'm 34 years old, and I'm a bold and self-reliant woman. Let me tell you about the crazy journey of my relationship with my husband Dominic. Get ready, because it's going to be a wild ride. Dominic and I had our ups and downs, like most couples. Even though I loved him a lot, there was one big problem. His mom, Charlotte. She was always critical of me. No matter what I did, she never seemed happy. Whenever we had family gatherings, Charlotte would make mean comments about my cooking. She acted like she was a fancy chef and I couldn't cook at all. She complained about the taste, how things looked, and say I wasn't as good as her. It felt like she was trying to prove that I wasn't good enough for her son. But it wasn't just about my cooking. Charlotte had a talent for making me feel small in other ways too. Once, at a dinner party, I proudly told everyone about a big promotion I got at work, hoping for a pat on the back. Instead, she just brushed it off like it was no big deal, saying it wasn't as good as what her friends' kids had achieved. It made me feel invisible, like she didn't care about my success. And our wedding? It should have been a happy day, but Charlotte made it her mission to criticize everything, from where we had it to what colors we used. Nothing was good enough for her. She'd whisper her disapproval to anyone who'd listen, ruining what should have been the best day of my life. You'd think my husband, Dominic, would stand up for me, right? Well, not quite. Bless him, he had this weird blind spot when it came to his mom. He couldn't see how she treated me, made me feel small, and acted like I didn't matter. It hurt a lot. And his dad, Caleb, was the only one who seemed to get it and call her out. But I wish Dominic would be the one to stand up for me. After all, I was his wife, his partner, and I deserved his support no matter what. But every time, I felt let down. Dominic stayed quiet, letting his mom's words hurt me over and over again. It was like being cut by tiny knives, again and again. I wanted his love, but I also wanted him to stick up for me. It wasn't just about defending me from Charlotte's mean comments. It was about fighting for our relationship and showing me I was important. I hoped he'd see through his mom's tricks and put us first. But it seemed like he was stuck in the family drama, unable to break free. As time went on, I started to feel more and more frustrated. I felt like he didn't care about me or what I needed. It was like we were stuck in a bad cycle that we couldn't get out of. The beginning of the end came when Dominic said he had to go on yet another business trip, this time to Tampa for a week. Another trip? Seriously, Dominic? It's a really important meeting that couldn't wait, babe, he said. But you just got back from another one. Can't someone else do it? And why Tampa all of a sudden? I asked, surprised. He had only just come back from a different business trip, so this sudden one made me wonder. I tried to tell him how I felt, hoping he'd understand, but his answers didn't help much. But I let it go. I'll bake, even though I'm not sure about this. You know, sometimes things just come up unexpectedly in business, I said reluctantly. Yeah, it's just business, okay. Even though I had my doubts, I didn't push it too much, and off he went on this business trip. The first 3 days of Dominic's trip went by, and my suspicions got even stronger. I decided to FaceTime him, like I usually did when he was away, but he kept choosing audio calls instead. Hey, can we do a video chat tonight? Sorry, the hotel Wi-Fi isn't great, so audio calls are better for now. But everything's fine, don't worry. Wi-Fi problems, it seemed too convenient, didn't it? Babe, don't worry about it, Dominic reassured me. But I couldn't help but worry. Sometimes I hear a woman's voice in the background, and it made my doubts grow stronger, making me even more uneasy. I felt like Dominic was hiding something, like there was more to this trip than he was letting on. The trust between us was starting to crack, leaving me with a sense of uncertainty that hung over our relationship. Despite my doubts, I stayed quiet and accepted his excuses for those 3 days. It was hard to believe. 3 whole days had gone by, and I still hadn't seen Dominic. Not only did he avoid video calls, but our audio calls kept getting shorter and shorter. I had to find out what was really going on. On the 4th day, I tried to FaceTime Dominic again, hoping to get some answers. But when the call connected, instead of seeing Dominic, it was Charlotte who answered. She was sitting in a beach chair with sunglasses on and a tan. I was shocked. Charlotte, what are you doing there? Where's Dominic? She smirked, looking pleased with herself. Oh, Harley dear, you didn't think he was on a business trip, did you? Honestly, I can't say he needed to go to Tampa to keep this from you, but I suppose that just shows how pushy you can be. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Dominic had lied to me, and his mother was there. enjoying herself while I was left in the dark. Anger started to bubble up inside me as I realized they had been deceiving me. So you're telling me you both planned this secret vacation without me? Well, yes, she admitted. Why? I demanded. Because I wanted to visit my hometown, and I wanted to do it with my son. Is that so wrong? Charlotte replied. Of course not. But why keep it a secret? Why exclude me? I pressed. Because this trip is just for me and my son, she explained. But I'm his wife. I should have been included. This could have been a chance for us to work out whatever issues you have with me, and I could really use a vacation too, I argued. Well, tough luck. You didn't get one. Sorry, not sorry, Charlotte retorted. I'm going to set aside your childish behavior for a moment to say this. Even if you wanted this special trip without me, it would have been okay. I'm an adult. You can tell me if I'm not invited to something. I can handle it. But here's the thing. We kept it a secret from you because we simply didn't want you to know. It's as simple as that. We didn't care if you wanted to come or if you would have been okay with us going alone. We just didn't want you to know. But your constant calls were annoying, so I decided to just tell you, Charlotte explained. Are you serious, Charlotte? What's gotten into you? Has all that sun fried your brain? I shot back. How dare you insult me like that? You're taking this too far. You're acting like such a drama queen, she retorted. I'm not being dramatic. I have every right to be upset, especially after years of putting up with your nonsense, I responded. Charlotte shrugged, pretending to be innocent. Oh, Harley dear, sometimes it's better not to know everything your husband does. It was just a little secret getaway, just for us, something special. You wouldn't understand the bond we have. A rush of emotions flooded through me, betrayal, anger, and sadness. It was obvious they had planned this together, leaving me out and feeling completely deceived. As I realized the extent of their deceit, I couldn't help but wonder what else they had lied about. How long had these secret trips been happening? Why were they so insistent on keeping me in the dark, and what else were they hiding from me? The trust I had in Dominic was falling apart, and I snapped out of my thoughts when I heard his voice getting closer. Mom, why did you answer the phone? What's going on? Dominic's voice sounded tense. It's time Holly knew the truth. It's been 4 days, his mother replied firmly. Dominic snatched the phone from his mother, his face going pale as he realized the mess he was in. He stared at the screen, knowing he was caught in a lie. Why did you lie about the business trip, Dominic? And the Wi-Fi was fine the past few days, wasn't it? I demanded. I didn't want you to be mad at me, he admitted. Well, of course I'm mad. I thought you were avoiding me. Is it strange that you want to spend time with your mom? Yeah, a bit. But Dominic, you haven't been standing up for me, and I've been feeling distant from you already. If you wanted mom-son time, you could have just said so. Even if I was upset about not being invited, it would have been better than feeling like this, I argued. Anger surged through me as Dominic tried to explain himself. It was clear he hadn't thought about how his actions would affect me. Dominic, I wouldn't have been upset if you had just been honest with me. It's not about the trip itself. It's about you keeping it a secret. That's what bothers me. I mean, I thought you were cheating on me, for crying out loud. What? No way, Dominic exclaimed. Yeah, well, when I heard women's voices in the background of your calls, I started to wonder, I said bitterly. I have a special bond with my mom. Sometimes we just need to get away, Dominic tried to explain. In Tampa of all places, you both hate Tampa. And what about Gertrude? Weren't we supposed to visit her? I questioned. So this secret was just between you two? What about your dad? Did he know? I pressed. I can't talk right now. I hope this trip was worth it, because when you come back, I'm not sure you'll still have a wife, I said firmly. Holly, please wait, Dominic pleaded. But I couldn't wait. I ended the call and ignored all of Dominic's attempts to reach me. I paced back and forth in my room, trying to make sense of it all. Why would he hide something so simple from me? One thing about me, when you lie about small things, I start to wonder what big things you're hiding. It was strange to think of Dominic spending time with his mom on this secret trip. Honestly, I would have preferred if he was cheating on me. I was frustrated with my distant and secretive husband and his difficult mother. I knew what I had to do. I needed to talk to someone who would understand. I picked up my phone and called my father-in-law, hoping he could offer some clarity and support. "Hey, it's Holly. I need to talk to you about something important." I poured my heart out, sharing every detail of the deception that had tainted my marriage. Anger, sadness, and betrayal swirled inside me as I recounted Dominic's lies. From his fake business trip to his desperate attempts to keep me in the dark. His betrayal cut deep. But what hurt even more was Charlotte's involvement. I described how she seemed to enjoy keeping me ignorant, relishing the power she had over me. The weight of their deceit felt suffocating, and as I spoke, I could sense Caleb's shock and hurt in his responses. Caleb's voice turned serious, matching the gravity of my words. "What? I had no idea about any of this. I'm so sorry you had to find out like this. As soon as I found out, I called you. Charlotte told me she was going to Tampa to visit her mother and repair their relationship. I believed her." Well, Dominic just confessed that they weren't planning to visit Gertrude at all. "And Gertrude has no clue about any visit," I revealed. Caleb's shock and hurt were evident over the phone. It was becoming apparent that Charlotte had been weaving a web of lies, manipulating everyone involved. I can't believe Charlotte would do something like this. It's one thing to have disagreements, but to deceive her own family. It's unforgivable, Caleb said, his voice heavy with disappointment. "They both need to learn a lesson," I agreed. "That's a brilliant idea." I was seething with anger, ready to do anything to teach Dominic and Charlotte a lesson. After our call ended with words of encouragement and excitement for what was to come, I waited eagerly to hear back from Caleb about his mother-in-law's reaction. A couple of hours passed, and Caleb delivered the good news. As Caleb described his conversation with Gertrude, the seriousness of the situation became even clearer. His voice shook with a mixture of anger and sadness. "I told her everything, Harley." She was furious, devastated even. She couldn't believe her own daughter would deceive everyone like this, Caleb explained. "She deserves to know the truth, Caleb. Charlotte has been treating us horribly for too long," I replied. "Gertrude has decided to take action, Harley. She's planning to teach Charlotte a lesson she won't forget. She's fed up with Charlotte's behavior and wants to show her what real rudeness looks like." I hope you don't mind me asking, but what exactly is the issue between Charlotte and Gertrude? "Well, Harley, I'm sure you'll find it ironic, but Charlotte always claimed her mother was very rude and cruel to her. They've had a rocky relationship since Charlotte ran away at 16, being in and out of touch for years. It's very toxic, but after talking to Gertrude for the past hour, I'm starting to think Charlotte was the problem all along. It's crazy. I've been married to Shaw for all these years, and you and Dom have only been married for 3, yet you've managed to uncover more family secrets in this short time. I should have been more curious. I should have stood up more." "How could you have known, Caleb? Don't be hard on yourself, please. You were just being a good husband, trusting what your wife told you, and you stood up more than your son. That means something. Thanks, Harley, for everything." "I'm glad I could help, even though it's unfortunate it came to this," I remarked. "Yeah, I guess so, but I'm looking forward to Gertrude showing him how tough she can be," Caleb responded. The next day arrived, and the fallout from our revelations began. Dominic, unable to grasp the seriousness of the situation, called me in frustration, his words filled with irritation. "Holly, what did you do?" "What do you mean? Don't play dumb with me. Gertrude is here, and nobody else knows we're in town except you. She said she came because she heard we were here. I'm glad she knows the truth. Everyone deserves to know, after all your sneaking around. How could you do this, Harley?" Dominic's voice was filled with frustration. In the background, I heard some commotion, likely from 2 female voices. One sounded much older, which I assumed was Gertrude unleashing her anger. "Dominic, maybe it's time Charlotte faces the consequences of her actions. She needs to understand what it feels like to be deceived," I replied firmly. Suddenly, I heard Charlotte's voice. "You ungrateful little rat. How dare you expose us like this?" As I listened, I couldn't help but chuckle softly, though there was bitterness in my laughter. Before I could respond, I heard another voice, stern and authoritative. "Don't you dare speak to that young lady like that. I've had enough of your insolence. You've been telling everyone how rude and nasty I was to you. Ha! When all I did was care for you and help you out of trouble. You were such a problem child, lying about everything and being nasty to everyone. And I see that lifestyle has followed you into adulthood. We haven't seen or talked to each other since you left, and this is how you want to act. Do you think I'm rude and nasty? Just wait, I'll show you rude and nasty. I heard things breaking like a glass or a vase, and it made me a bit fearful as the shouting continued. I couldn't imagine how scared Dominic must have been, but I realized that this was the consequence of his actions. He was an adult, responsible for his choices. I was done making excuses for them. They were getting what they deserved, and I was glad to hear it unfold. For the next few days, Dominic kept asking for my forgiveness because his grandmother was driving him crazy. Each time he called, I reminded him that this was his fault. Meanwhile, Charlotte and Gertrude continued arguing back and forth. I was surprised they didn't get kicked out of the hotel they were staying in. As their 7-day trip came to an end, Dominic revealed something even more shocking. "Holly, please, you need to talk to Gertrude." I tried talking to Dad, but he's still upset with my mom and me, Dominic pleaded. "Slow down, what's going on? You two were supposed to be coming back, right?" I asked, trying to keep up. "I thought you learned your lesson," I added. "Well, Gertrude doesn't think so. She's planning to board the plane with us," Dominic explained. "What? She wants to follow us home and make sure my mom starts acting like a respectable adult and not some crazed teenager," he continued. "Wow, that's unexpected. Maybe next time you'll stand up for what's right and not go along with your mother's schemes." "See you when you get here," I replied. "Harley, I regret everything. Haven't you punished us enough? Please talk to Gertrude and tell her she doesn't have to come with us," Dominic pleaded desperately. "I don't think so, sweetie. Who am I to argue with that woman? She's terrifying," I responded to Dominic's plea. "How do you think we feel?" he asked. "Honestly, Dom, I don't care how you feel. You've been lying to me for God knows how long, and you never stood up for me when your mom treated me poorly. You're getting your karma. Don't be mad at me now. Have a safe flight." "Well, as safe a flight as you came with these two ladies being together," I retorted firmly. As I hung up the phone, a sense of satisfaction washed over me. Finally, the tables had turned, and I had stood up against the toxicity that had plagued our lives for too long. Gertrude, the unexpected ally, had unleashed her own brand of justice, and I couldn't help but feel a glimmer of excitement. Now I await their return, expecting stories from Gertrude, as I'm sure she continued to make their lives difficult on that flight. Revenge never tasted so sweet.